This is William K. Murtaugh, Mert Witness 1, and subject for today is a few different things. Phil McConnell went back on from the jail in Wisconsin and complained about the 30-second video and claims that that must be the reason that the governor signed the warrant when it's not. But this man doesn't seem to have the ability to face reality. And the reality is that he is coming to Florida and he's going to have to answer for the death threats that he made against the woman from Florida. This seems to be something that Phil McConnell does not comprehend, is that you don't make death threats against people, because if they're able to, they're going to hold you to account. Field committed multiple felonies, and now he's going to have to answer for it. He's going to have to come to Florida, and he's going to have to see what he can do to get himself out of the situation. And from the parts of the recording that I listened to so far, it would appear that Field McConnell is still listening to bad advice, and that he is probably not going to seek out proper legal counsel to take the proper steps that might mitigate his problem. Instead, he is going to allow himself to be put in jail for quite a long time once he gets down here. And unfortunately, it's going to lead to him losing everything he owns by the time it's all settled. Because there's not going to be enough money out there to save his house, save all his cars, and everything like that. As time goes by, Field McConnell is going to become less and less and less important. As people move on, hire another new leader to take Field's place and continue whatever this mission is that everybody seems to be on. And it's just the way it goes in the real world. This fantasy world of conspiracy theories eventually falls by the wayside, and something more current comes up, and someone like Field goes away. For the past few weeks, there has been someone that has been growing concern about Tim Holmseth's involvement with a woman that this Twitter account calls the Blizzard Witch. And she keeps calling on the Blizzard Witch to leave Tim alone, allow him to get out from under her control, so on and so forth. Now, last night during my Murtathon, this troll DM'd me for quite a while, and I got into an engaged conversation with this individual, which is unusual because usually the individual will block me after making a comment or two, and having a conversation ends at that point. This time, however, the account has left it so that I can direct message, and we had a conversation again. And the problem is the conversation went nowhere. Now, I offered this person several options to determine whether or not Tim Holmseth is safe or not. I offered to be an intermediary. I told her that Tim can contact me if he wishes, and none of these options seemed to be on the table. The individual seemed intent on complaining about things and not doing anything about it. And this has been the case in the past. So I'm not sure if it's going to be constructive to have any dealings with this individual, although I'm going to keep the lines open. Because if Tim is in a grave situation or his life is in danger, every minute that this individual puts off trying to come up with a concrete solution to the problem is just going to make it that less likely that Tim is going to be able to get out of a situation. We are now going on 2 weeks. This is day number 14 of anything that was published or mentioned that was of content that we could be somewhat assured that Tim Holmseth was behind the material. And even then we can't be certain that it was Tim Holmseth that provided the material. But it's a timeline we have to go by because it's the last time anything was ever published to his blog, and the last time anything that could be assumed to be directly associated to Tim Holmseth was put out on the internet. Now, the final chapter of the Cindy Abzug On the Run saga came out today. And unfortunately, it was not in time for me to review it today. I'm going to have to do this tomorrow. And I'm not certain what I'm going to do for Saturday. Because by the time the Murdathon on Saturday comes around, everything will be pretty well done with as far as the Abzug case. So we're just going to have a period of time that we're going to have to wait until this thing goes the next step of the February 11th hearing. And Saturday I should have a better idea of what's going to happen with Field McConnell. Because now that the warrant has been signed, it's just a matter of making the arrangements to get McConnell transferred to Florida. And everybody has the 31st to do it. Now, Phil McConnell seems to think that the Wisconsin governor, who happens to be a Democrat, by the way, so let that one sink in, may not agree to send Phil McConnell to Florida. Or that DeSantis may just let the thing run its course and Phil McConnell will be sprung because Florida decided they were going to bring him back. It's kind of a screwed up logic considering the fact that under the extradition agreements that are made by these various states, unless something comes up where Wisconsin feels compelled to refuse the warrant, it's a done deal. Phil McConnell is going to Florida. And the same holds true of DeSantis. If DeSantis was going to let the thing run its course and not bother with enforcing the extradition warrant, he wouldn't have signed it in the first place. But it's been signed. It's in the state of Wisconsin. It's just a matter of time before arrangements are made to get Field back to Florida. And as long as it's done on day 89 or day 90, because they have until midnight of day 90 to get him out of the state of Wisconsin. And Phil McConnell will find himself in Florida the first week of February. Because technically the 90 days doesn't run out on the 31st of January. It runs out somewhere around the 4th of February. Because they go by the number of days, not by the day calendar month. Field McConnell was incarcerated on the 4th of the month. So this puts Field McConnell in jail until the first few days of February. But it is likely that by January 31st, arrangements will have been made to get Field McConnell to Fort Lauderdale. And then things in Fort Lauderdale will start. Now, it's going to be a bit interesting to see what happens once Phil McConnell lands in Florida, because I think what's going to wind up happening is that Phil McConnell's going to have a dose of reality, because he's no longer on his home turf. He's in a foreign state. He may have been in Florida briefly, but he's now in Florida, and he's in a mixed political area in Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale is largely Democratic. And Phil McConnell may have forgotten that he's made a lot of inappropriate comments to the court down here. He's railed against the judge. He's railed against Broward County. And he's also indicted for threatening the life of a Broward County attorney. This is not going to sit well down here. And he may find himself in a worse situation than if everything had happened in the state of Wisconsin, which is, in his area, very conservative. So any hope that Phil McConnell had of getting out of the situation is swiftly evaporating. His chances of beating the rat, so to speak, is diminishing. Now, there are some possibilities for getting out of this mess or mitigating the mess. And the most prominent of these is an insanity plea. He could plead temporary insanity or insanity to some degree due to his advanced age and what have you, and possibly mitigate that way. Or, as I have said before, when it comes to these other situations out there, he could turn state's evidence. Because the state of Colorado and the federal government is going to want information on this gang of idiots that helped this woman go on a sightseeing tour of half the United States. You know, that situation is coming up here pretty quick. And then, and the state of Colorado is going to deal with Miss Abzug for her criminal activities alleged, as well as possibly those that helped in this situation. And this brings me back to Northwest Liberty News and the fact that they host there spent 3 days allowing this young man to dispense his side of the story to the general public and, by extension, to law enforcement. Because now law enforcement is going to be poring over what was said in that show and the transcripts that people have made of it that are now in the hands of law enforcement. They're going to look at it and say, well, this guy is confessing to doing all this stuff. And when this goes to trial, he's going to be called as a material witness. Now the first sensible thing the kid could do is plead the Fifth Amendment, because he will be incriminating himself if he gets on the bench or gets in the witness chair and has to testify under oath. So we're probably going to see at least one Fifth Amendment plea come out of this. Because the boyfriend of the politician's daughter is likely going to be called into this eventually, either as an accessory or as a material witness. So we're going to have a whole bunch of people here that are going to be scratching their heads wondering if they're going to get swept up in this mess, and Phil McConnell is one of them. Because these people were at Phil McConnell's house. Not only was Ms. Abzug there and her male companion, but this other guy was there. And members of the Children's Crusade were involved in this directly. There's a woman down in Virginia that is accused of supplying diplomatic papers to Ms. Abzug, which is a violation of federal law. It's a violation of State Department protocols And this is a very serious violation. This is abuse of diplomatic privilege, is what it's generally known as. You know, this woman going around giving out diplomatic passports to an American citizen under these circumstances is illegal. You don't do that. And that's an extremely serious crime. Now, if on the other hand, she forged a diplomatic passport, or even a regular passport, that's another crime. You know, you don't do that. It's against the law. So if she did that, she's in just as much trouble. So the remainder of this year is going to be an interesting one when it comes to all the players in this little game. People are going to have a lot to answer for. They may think Abza got caught. She's going to go and go to trial, probably lose custody of her child, all her children, over this. But we'll be fine. We'll be able to go on and keep on keeping on. And that's a delusion, because there's a good possibility, number one, that this woman is going to be pissed when she finds out that she's going to lose her kids because she relied on these people. See, that's the crux of this whole situation that people seem to be ignoring, is that because of Field McConnell, because of this woman in Virginia, and because of the Children's Crusade, this woman is going to permanently lose custody of her children. There's no doubt about that. Because the woman is proven to be unstable. Now, up to the point where she decided not to attend the hearing that triggered all of this, the woman probably could have worked out a way to get her child back if she had done so properly. But for some strange reason, she felt compelled to skip the court and go on the run. And based on what came out in the Northwest Liberty News webcast, it was Field McConnell's group and others that talked the woman into taking this course of action. That she was given the advice the best thing to do is not participate in the legal proceedings, to skip them. And that's precisely what she did. And now she's sitting in the state of Montana, awaiting the first step in a series of steps that are going to be taken to resolve this case. She's going to be extradited back to the state of Colorado. And then once she gets to Colorado, she's going to face the music there. And she is likely going to get convicted of something, or there's going to be a plea deal of some kind. And she could become a witness for the prosecution to get some of these other people locked up. Because the people that helped her are actually guilty of more serious crimes than she was. And I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get the attempted armed kidnapping of a child to stick, based on what I've heard. Because unless the child was in the state where she was at, I'm not sure if interstate kidnapping would apply here. Now, they would have to prove that she intended to take the child out of the state of Colorado. That's where you get into interstate kidnapping. Now, if they're able to prove that Ms. Abzug intended to take the child out of the state of Colorado, that's a different matter altogether. Then she's in really serious trouble. And having this so-called diplomatic passport might seal her fate. Now, you have to understand that a great deal of information regarding this case is sealed. And that is unusual in a situation like this where they would seal completely this case. All the details of how and what this woman was doing has been blocked from public view, at least for the time being. And that means that more than likely the Fed stepped in and put a quash on this stuff. Said, look, we've got more here than just a attempted kidnapping of a child from foster parents. We've got a far more serious conspiracy going on. And because of that, we have to seal this information until we're able to deal with it. And that means that people are still under investigation. There's more charges pending and so on and so forth. So, if I were anyone that participated in these actions, I would be worried right now. Because this is not over by a long shot. There's more coming down the pike, so to speak. A little bit more interesting news. I have been informed that the Blizzard Witch got bitch slapped by Facebook. Now, the Blizzard Witch, along with a number of other people, have been making conspiracy theories up when it came to the coronavirus, or whatever the hell you're calling the thing over in China. And the Blizzard Witch put up a picture, supposedly of a patent that was taken out on the virus. And according to Facebook, independent fact checkers have found that this is false information. And so when you go to look at that particular entry on her Facebook page, you're going to see that it has been hit with a false information banner that blocks the photo unless you direct Facebook to let you see it. They are giving you a warning that they consider this false information. Excuse me again. Now, there's always a possibility of anybody getting hit with one of these things. It's first I've seen it, and I knew it existed. And it's basically, there's people out there that use resources at their disposal to determine whether or not the information that's being posted on Facebook is true or not. And based on this entry, Facebook is calling the Blizzard Witch a liar. And we all know that the Blizzard Witch is a liar anyway, but Facebook just put their stamp on it. So now we know that the Blizzard Witch is a liar. It's kind of putting cherry on the top of a sundae. So things are pretty well routine this week. Not a whole heck of a lot going on. We're kind of in a waiting game to see when the next shoe's going to drop on everything here, from Field McConnell to Timothy Holmseth to this Abzug woman. Now, I'm going to finish this up with saying that everything seems to be going fairly well in the subscriptions department. I'm slowly getting to the 1,000 mark. I'm hovering around 670 right now. I go up a couple, come down a couple, go up a couple more, come down a couple, so it's working its way up there. And so I encourage you guys, if you wouldn't mind, if you have not subscribed already, please do so. do the subscribe, do the like. That way I can get up to where I can live stream mobile because of the strange situation that exists with YouTube. This will prepare me better for when I start going to these places live to live stream, because I'll be able to do that. I'll be able to live stream on location, because it looks like I'll be spending a certain amount of time in Florida covering the situation here. And as far as anything out of state, that's going to depend on how the cases go, the timeline of the cases, and if I'm able to garner the resources necessary to go on location at these places. It remains to be seen. Right now, we're kind of skating along, gradually moving forward. I appreciate those who have helped so far, and hopefully I'll be able to give you people more or less a personalized view of things on location throughout the country. My visits to Wisconsin and Minnesota may not necessarily be to cover trials, but to give background stories as to where these events took place, what the environment was like, what these little towns are like, and perhaps even meeting a couple of people that used to be close to Tim Holmset to get their insight on how he was. That's one of my plans, is to go up to Polk County and meet with Tom and Chad and have a discussion with them on how things were during that period. And so we have that to look forward to, and that's where I'm going to need your help. I'm hoping to try and do something with going up to Minnesota this spring. My goal would be May of this year, going up to Minnesota. And so if anybody could help me with this, that would be nice. So anyway, it looks like for now, that's all that I am going to be able to talk about. Probably, if I have an opportunity later tonight, I might do a brief segment on anything that develops between now and 2 o'clock in the morning. So we'll see how it goes. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I hope you have a good weekend. Go watch football games and go out and ice fish or whatever it is you guys do. And just have a good old time. This is William K. Murtaugh, Murt Witness 1. Have a good one. she makes some implication about Guantanamo Naval Station, that there's some quote-unquote reason for this aircraft to have landed in Gitmo, as is known, 12 hours prior to her putting this on Facebook. And as I stated, this is the Guantanamo Bay Naval Air Station. Now, the Guantanamo Bay Naval Air Station has become to be known as the place where all the 9/11 terrorists and ISIS people and all these bad guys are flown into and kept until they go on trial for their terrorism activities. And that's not the entire mission of Guantanamo Bay. But these conspiracy theories make a big deal about it. Guantanamo Bay's come up a lot. So anyway, we got this airplane that flew from Fort Lauderdale to Gitmo. Now, I'm kind of curious how this particular company got on this woman's radar. And it kind of had me concerned for a minute, because when she told me about this, I figured maybe this woman had found out something that I didn't want people to know about. It turned out I had nothing to worry about. This woman was just being a wingnut. I want to fill you in on a little secret that apparently this woman doesn't know. National Airways is a charter company. It means they rent airplanes along with a crew. One of their big customers is the United States government, specifically the Department of the United States Navy, Department of the Navy, under the Department of Defense. They have other contracts with the government, but this is one we're going to concentrate on. Now, National Airways flies non-classified missions for the United States government. Very important distinction here. This is a civilian airline. They do not have the kind of clearance to be going around transporting, say, President Trump or any of these other people, or high profile anything. It's a civilian contractor. They have minimal security clearance, just enough to where they can land at this Navy base. These are routine flights. Now, if you want to find out about National Airlines in Fort Lauderdale, you can get on Google and Google these people. You're going to find something out. Number one, they are exactly what they said they are. It's a charter company. You can go down there, if you got $10,000, $15,000, you can go down, charter a 747 and fly wherever you want to go. As long as they're legally able to fly to that location, you can go there. They have big jets, little jets, all kinds of airplanes. Big company. And this is routine. They go down to Gitmo and they transport military personnel all the time. You get guys that finish their tour, they hop on the plane to go home. You get guys that are on 30-day leave, they go home. You get guys, or girls, because there are women in the military now, but you get military personnel that get transferred to another base, and they go. They get deployed somewhere, National's there, we'll take you where you need to go. That's all they do. It's an airborne bus company. It's like, it's an airborne version of a Greyhound. Get you on board, take you where you need to go. And we'll give you coffee and peanuts while you're on the way over there. That's what National is. And I'll tell you something else. Yes, National is headquartered in Fort Lauderdale. It's what's known as their FBO, Forward Base of Operation. They work on their airplanes there. Their corporate offices are there. They book their flights from there. So it's not unusual for an aircraft to leave Fort Lauderdale empty. The flights to Fort Lauderdale, or to Gitmo from Fort Lauderdale, are what's known as a deadhead. Anybody that has been in either the trucking business or the aircraft business knows what it means to deadhead somewhere. It means you're going somewhere and you're not generating revenue. You're flying empty. All that's on the aircraft are the crew. Every once in a great while, there may be somebody on board the aircraft that needs a ride. Soldier on leave, maybe an officer going down there on military business, catch a ride. But the simplest fact of the matter is 99.9% of the flights out of Fort Lauderdale by National are deadheads. They go down routinely to Gitmo, generally twice a day. They sit around down there. Military decides where they're going to go. They load the airplane and away they go. If something comes into Gitmo, it comes from another city. And it normally comes in through something known as the Military Airlift Command, which is kind of like the military version of a Greyhound. They handle all kinds of things. And it's the Military Airlift Command that would bring in anybody that is considered high profile, whether it be civilian, military, prisoner, whatever. Goes through the Military Airlift Command. And there you have it, folks. Now, this bimbo, for whatever reason, made a big deal about this. Said, oh, got a plane that went to Gitmo from Fort Lauderdale. I'm going to check on the flight manifest, see who is on board. Now, how the hell is she going to do that? Flight manifest, for your information on both civilian and military, remember this is a military base we're going to here, are classified. They're private. That's private information. You don't have access to that. You can't call up American Airlines and say, is William K. Murtaugh on flight to Denver, Colorado, and so on and so forth? They won't give you that information. You know, people found that out the hard way. There's people every day that try and find out where I go on an airplane, and they can't because it's against the law. I could give you the flight number and the aircraft plane and everything, and you could call the airline, and they'll say, can't give you that information. That's private. It's against the law. So I don't know what power this woman thinks she has that she's going to call up somebody and get the flight manifest for that aircraft. Ain't going to happen. And they're not going to tell her who's on the airplane. This is nuts. But this, you know, these people don't think straight. Now remember, these are the people that think a dead guy is going to be vice president of the United States. That Mike Pence is going to get kicked out. And then JFK Jr. is going to be vice president of the United States. He's going to run with Trump. Now, I find this incredibly funny for this reason. JFK Jr. was a liberal. He was about as left-wing as you can get. I followed this politics. I followed the politics of the entire Kennedy family, and they're all liberals, every goddamn one of them. So I don't know why. Boy, we're just having fun with sirens today. I got a fire truck going across my path. I had to interrupt the broadcast a few minutes ago because Orange County Sheriff is running around. But getting back on topic. So why? What is the reason why a liberal on the far left, even if he got reincarnated, which is really weird, or somehow he survived an airplane that practically disintegrated when it hit the water, and they recovered the bodies of everybody on board, you know, little detail that QAnon leaves out. But anyway, we get this extremely liberal Kennedy Democrat is going to run against an extremely conservative, right of conservative president. Explain that. Nobody has explained the logic behind this. Why? This is exactly what President Trump is fighting against, is this extreme left-wing philosophy. And yet you got one of them that got reincarnated or hid himself away as being his vice presidential candidate. Then Mike Pence might as well pack up and leave because he ain't going to have a job. You know, and everybody's mad at Mike Pence because they tried to kill the president, or tried to kill Tim Homestead. He's trying to take over the presidency. He's trying to kick Donald Trump out of office and take over. And Timothy Homestead found out about it, so they want to kill him. He went to Minnesota specifically to kill him, and the Navy SEALs prevented it. That's the story. This is the kind of crap that's out there, folks. This is what the kind of people that this guy's talking about on his radio show. People that believe that JFK Jr. is alive, well, and going to be a vice president of the United States. That Vice President Pence flew to Minnesota for the express purpose of having Timothy Charles Homestead, an unemployed pizza delivery driver, killed. Because he's a member of Q, and he supposedly has all this inside information on this international child trafficking stuff. Stupid bunch of people, I swear. But you can't argue with stupid. I mean, you sit there and you try and talk common sense into these people, and they call you names, call you old man, say you're a kook, stupidest person you ever heard on YouTube. This from a woman that believes in a Democrat running with a Republican president, and believes all kinds of weird shit. Something else, man. But hey, these people can believe in who they want. But what gets on my radar is, number one, when people start calling me a pedophile and accusing me of this crap, and they turn around and they smear the reputation of a perfectly innocent woman. Woman with 3 children. Mother of 3 children. And these people are trashing her without checking the facts. Taking the word of an unemployed pizza delivery driver who's supposed to have all this secret information that he's held on to for 10 years. Then we have the Pentagon Pedophile Task Force. That's that's rich. You know, we talk about all this Pentagon Pedophile Task Force, supposed to be this super secret government agency run through the Pentagon, and yet they rely on an unemployed pizza delivery driver to be their press secretary. What kind of bullcrap is that? This guy goes around declaring that he's third in line to the President of the United States because there's some intermediary there that's getting all this information. Turns out to be some Q idiot. And they make a hero out of him, and he hasn't a thing to show for it. Except a bunch of articles on social media. The stupidity, the sheer nonsense that people believe is just unfathomable. It's disappointing, really. Now, you've got 30-40% of the population in this country and a similar percentage throughout the world that believe this nonsense. That make this a driving force in whatever decisions they make in their lives is whatever these people are talking about on these websites. And, you know, there's no telling what's going to happen because of all this, because there's just too damn many people involved in this nonsense. You know, in a way, it makes me want to shut down and go back to playing Farmville or something, because it's more constructive than trying to talk common sense with these morons. go around putting out flight plans and saying that there's some super duper secret thingamajiggy going on with National Airways when all they are is a charter company. Good grief. Are people that stupid? And the answer is yes, they are. They're that stupid. And the people that believe this nonsense are equally stupid. I don't care who you are. If you believe any of this crap, you're an idiot. Because it's absolute nonsense. Deep state crap. None of that's true. You can't keep something like that secret. I mean, it's getting to the point where all everybody wants one party rule. It's our way, no other way. You might as well do away with elections. Why have elections? Just appoint a Republican here, Republican here, Republican here, Republican here. The hell with it. Just throw the Constitution out the window. We don't need it. That's what, it's Trump or nothing. Republicans are nothing. Conservatives are nothing. The hell with the rest of the country. It's unbelievable. I mean, I can understand that you have a point of view and you'd like to see some of the things put into place that you want. But there's 300 and some odd million people in this country. And some of us have our own point of view. So there's a little thing called compromise. You say, all right, I'll give you some of what you want. You give me some of what I want. And everybody will be happy. But that's not what's going on here. It's either our way or the highway. And both sides are guilty of it. I mean, the extreme right, I got problems with the extreme right, but I'm not too happy with the extreme left either because they want the same thing. It's our way or the highway. There's no middle ground. And those of us in the middle who see benefits on both sides are getting frustrated because we get blamed. If we say one thing, we're a righty-tighty. If we say another thing, we're a leftist. So you can't seem to talk common sense anymore. I'm very disappointed with the American public. And it's going to come to a head. I don't know where we're going in this country. I really don't. We're tearing ourselves apart over things that really don't affect any of us. Very few people, if anything, is affected by what's going on here. You know, 80% of the people in this country could live with what we have right now. Maybe a few changes, get a few things straightened out. Well, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater, which is what people like Northwest Liberty News want to do. They want to abolish CPS completely. Instead of reforming the system, saying, let's correct what's wrong and make it work right, and not say that every single solitary case of CPS coming in and intervening in the custody of a child is wrong. Let's first find out if CPS is justified in being there in the first place, and then make a decision that way. Don't go around saying that every single solitary CPS agency in the country is out to do this, that, and the other thing. Because then that's a fantasy. I've looked into, I had a woman that I've known for years. Met her in the Casey Anthony case. Made the same claim. That her children were taken away from her. And then I did some looking around. And it was almost parallel to the Absug woman. It turned out that there was some justification there for CPS in Florida to step in. Because of her conduct. And I backed away from it. I said, I'm not getting involved in this. Because it was clear that there was more going on here than the mother was saying. See, it's instinctive for some reason for people to automatically believe the mother. She created the child. She nurtured it and had it in her stomach for 9 months, whatever. So it's understandable. But sometimes things go wrong. Not every mother's a responsible mother. You know, and they just didn't create Munchausen's by proxy out of thin air. It's real. It happens. It happens more often than you realize. And this guy from Montana, who is not an expert in child psychology, he's not an expert in any of this, barges in without knowing all the facts. He's put himself right in the middle of this case with no facts. And there's a danger in doing that. Tim Holmseth did the same thing. He got involved in a case, took the core truth of the case, and then added his own nonsense to it, and got everything all screwed up. And now the people that are truly trying to do right by the case are trying to straighten out the mess he's made of it. And, you know, there's too much of this going on where people just get in the middle of these cases that don't know what the hell's going on. They're not a party to it. This guy's not a relative of this woman. I doubt that this talk show host knew this woman before all this started. It just came on his radar. CPS wants to take this kid, took this kid. I'm going to get involved. And by getting involved, he's probably making matters worse for the woman. Because every word that this guy is saying on the air in these segments that he's doing are going to be looked at by the prosecution. I guarantee it. Because there's people right now notifying law enforcement. Say, hey, you need to look at this stuff from this radio show. This internet radio show. Look at what this guy's saying that he did and she did. That's evidence, folks. That's evidence that can be used against the woman. Now, that guy could have been responsible and done that show in such a way where all this evidence wasn't put out there for the public to see. But he didn't do that. He needed the attention. He needed to have the scoop. And so he put this guy on the air with this 3-part series. This guy's going to make all kinds of statements and comments and confessions and everything. And in the end, he may wind up screwing this woman over big. Because he's already confessed to accompanying a woman that was fleeing an arrest warrant. That this woman knew she's going to get arrested. He even said it. Right there in the radio station. So we can't do this or the other thing or I'm going to get arrested. You got to stay undercover. And the people that helped him out, Field McConnell and all these other people, he's implicated them in this mess. You know, aiding and abetting a fugitive from justice. All this other stuff. Be curious to find out where that gun came from. I don't know if it came out in today's segment or it's going to come out later, but there was a gun involved. The daughter saw it. A revolver. Was it his gun? Probably. That's what he's going to say. He's going to be like, oh, that was my gun. Now, what's she going to the shooting range with it for? Is she going to protect herself against this neighbor who tried to break in the house? Is that what it is? Probably. But guess what, dude? You're going to have to get up in court. Put your hand on the Bible, get that arm up in the air and say, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God, blah, blah, blah. Let it all hang out. That's where it's going to count. But if I were that radio commentator, if you want any credibility, sir, you better do your homework. You better find out exactly what it is that Field McConnell believes in. Find out about this Pentagon Pedophile Task Force and the Children's Crusade and Timothy Charles Holmseth and how he fits into all this before you start dismissing the statements about QAnon outright. Because it's the important distinction when it was made here, and it's in the police report, was that the woman believed that it was QAnon that was giving her all this information, that it was QAnon that told her about the satanic rituals. It was QAnon that told her about the baby selling, and it was QAnon that told her this, that, and the other thing. It's people like Phil McConnell and Tim Holmseth that told her this. That's what you didn't report so far. This woman got this information from somewhere. She didn't get it from 8 guys in a country club. Now, QAnon is a rather confusing thing. It's kind of like Anonymous. You know, there's about 20 different stories and 20 different versions of QAnon. But the core here of what was said in the police report that is true was that this woman and her daughter believed they were affiliated with QAnon. That QAnon played into this little drama. Right or wrong. The woman was convinced it was QAnon. Report that, Mr. Host. That's where we're at here. Now, you may know something about QAnon. You may know more than I know. I don't know squat about your QAnon. What I know about are the actions of Timothy Holmseth and Phil McConnell, because I've dealt with Timothy Holmseth for 10 years, and I've dealt with Phil McConnell probably for about 6 or 7 months. Can't remember exactly when he came on my radar. But I can only go by what I've heard and what I read in the police report. I've got the actual police report. I didn't get it from a newspaper. I got it from the police department. And it's right there in PDF. The woman stated it to her daughter that it was QAnon that convinced her of this stuff. That's all she talked about was QAnon. She goes to QAnon meetings with an S, not meeting with a G. Means she went to more than one meeting. This guy talked about one meeting. What about the subsequent meetings? Find out. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, I guess. Give this guy clickbait. Sit there and listen to what he has to say, and we'll talk about it on Saturday. And I'm going to monitor as best I can the court case. I sure would love to get up to Colorado for this court case, because that's where we're going to find out what's going on. Not on some biased YouTube channel and social media radio show. We're going to find out in court. We're going to find out by watching these people testify in court, about reading all the discovery in court. That's where we'll find out. So, please like and share, subscribe, and if you would like to help in the mission to get me to these various court cases, we've got Phil McConnell coming up. If we're able to do this in time, I'd be up in Colorado for the Abzug trial and some of the other cases that are going to be hitting here pretty soon. If you want me to go there, help me out. Until then, this is William K. Murtaugh. We're in this one. Have a good one.